Hello, everybody. Welcome to another live digital event here at Microsoft. My name is Sungu Kawana, and I'm a talent acquisition manager here at Microsoft, based in the UK, but covering an EMEA-wide team. It's great to have everybody again to another live event. We have lots of individuals from all over the globe, from the US across to Asia Pacific region. So it's great to have you all with us today. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. Today's event is focused primarily on digital sales and what the digital sales function means to us here at Microsoft. So for that reason, I'm really lucky to be joined by Justin McCarthy, who's our senior director of digital sales. Sorry, we've got Marielle Littzen, who is a digital tech specialist manager here at director of digital tech specialist management. Sorry, here at Microsoft, and then we've got Zhong, who's one of the specialist managers here. So you get a really good perspective from different leaders in the organization and overall focus on digital sales. Before we go into the question and answer portion of the event, we will have obviously a short video which we're going to show now to give you some insight into digital sales. Before we get to that, though, please do ask your questions as we go through the event. We'll try and fit them in and squeeze them in as much as I can throughout the conversation, but we will have some time at the end to fit in as many questions as well. Okay, so to begin, Justin, I'd like to come to you first to ask you about what does digital sales actually mean to Microsoft? It means different things to different people across the globe. Before you answer, however, I can see you're keen to get going with your answer. It'd be good to get good for us to share a video just to give some context around the organization to help you with your answer.
At Microsoft, our mission is to empower every person and every organisation on the planet to achieve more.
We've embraced transformation here. 2,000 people, 71 different nationalities, from sales to operations and engineering in one campus in Leopardstown, Dublin. Here we have created the perfect space to enable development, innovation, and creativity.
Digital transformation is not just about technology. It's about every person and every organization understanding the opportunity and being inspired to realize their potential in this digital world. It's about making things easier so that we can all do more. We have innovators, from data scientists to AI bot builders and mixed reality game developers, to people who ensure that our Microsoft Cloud services are always available. Our ambition is to open everyone's eyes and minds to the possibilities technology and its many innovations can create.
This will mean giving our students, our future leaders, the digital skills to develop their own vision of what the future should be all about. It's why we've created DreamSpace. Here we will give every primary and secondary school student and teacher in Ireland the opportunity to have immersive, interactive experiences and discover how technology influences the world around them now.
Our ambition, our goal here, is to help everyone through the power of technology to achieve their ambitions.
Paints 1,000 words, and I certainly couldn't have described what you just saw there in terms of the building, the vibrancy, the people that we have in the business in Dublin here in our EMEA Digital Sales Centre. So I think to answer your question, a little bit more around what is digital sales, we should probably take a step back first in terms of maybe pre-pandemic, what was happening. We were seeing around the world, and certainly in EMEA, our customers and organizations everywhere starting on this what we would call a digital transformation journey. People were transforming their businesses. They're moving to much more online commerce, doing things differently, serving markets in other regions away from their locale. And very much digital sales for Microsoft was around transforming Microsoft's own business in how we do sales and how we serve those customers and how we help those customers transform. Of course, the pandemic and COVID hit some time back, and what happened is we were just in the right place at the right time in the EMEA Digital Sales Center to help the acceleration of transformation that the pandemic required to help customers move to remote working, move online, get their businesses up and running in different ways than they'd ever done before. And as digital sales is all about empowering digital capabilities at scale, Microsoft was in a great place in Ireland to actually accelerate with our customer base. And since then, over the last 4 years, we've gone from pretty much starting up the center pre-pandemic to we now have over 1,200 people doing various roles that you've just seen in the video there, helping our customers transform, helping them grow, and helping them through a period of change that's been unprecedented in recent times, I think. And with that comes great opportunities for people to join Microsoft. We love to have our employees represent our customer base. So we need people from different countries, different backgrounds, diversity of thinking. And we've just seen a huge amount of people relocate here to Dublin and become part of the Microsoft family here. So digital sales is all about helping our customers and transforming in new and innovative ways. And of course, adopting digital selling tools as well, and digital marketing and social selling on top of that, so that actually as we transform inside Microsoft our way of doing business, we're adopting a huge amount of digital technology on the way too. So Sungha, I'll pause there. I could probably talk for days on digital sales and all the detail behind it, but I'll hand back to you and see where you want to go next.
No, it's great, and really appreciate the context there, because I think ultimately, the terms digital and sales will mean different things when put together to different organizations. So really appreciate the context. You mentioned there in terms of, right place, right time, and your response to customers. I might come to you, Lee, and ask you just for your opinion really on maybe some examples from a customer's perspective on how you're driving transformational change or adoption with your clients within your digital sales function.
Yeah, absolutely, Zhong. Very happy to share that. Actually, I'm very proud to say that we as digital sales support our customers from every industry. So our mission is really to empower every person, every organization to achieve more with our technologies. Just speaking from Azure side, as our team from Azure, in fiscal 21, we've brought more than 2,500 new customers to Azure, really empower them with our technologies for their digital transformation. So I want to share with you a customer example or story, how we help a local regional government to adopt Azure Data Platform, for example, to really get great insights for the decision making. I like this story because I can talk about all the customer journeys for the whole day, but I really like the empowerment we deliver for the customer, really to improve the public services and really empower our organization to become data-driven and digital-enabled municipality. So like many other local regional governments or public sector organizations, they want to become data-driven. But the key challenges most of the organization have is the limited knowledge, experience for digital transformation, where to start, and so they reach out our team, digital sales team, to ask for guidance and support through the journey. Now, we had orientation call usually with the customer and understand the business needs and also challenges within the organization. And our digital team going through this journey, especially in this pandemic period, and introduce our cloud adoption framework, for example, and guided customer with the needed resources, for example, the enterprise skills initiative, skilling programs, fast track engineer support, and also guided the customer with partner solutions, which is really, really adapt to the situation of the customer. And we carry on with a proof of concept. And with this effort together with the customer and also partners, we help customer to upscale their organization and make the technology more accessible to many of others. So this is one of the many journeys we help our customers to go through the digital transformation. And I've personally found it really, really impactful and exciting. Just imagine we help a public organization to improve public services, really deliver customer, people-centric services to improve people's life. And we also make our technologies accessible to the public. So that's one of the examples I want to share today. Thank you, Sango.
And thank you, Lee. And it's a great example. I maybe a little bit biased in terms of my views on the impact we have, certainly in given times. And so I always look forward to hearing, public sector examples. Certainly when you have that personal impact, which has touched so many people over the last couple of years. Would you say, Lee, that the digital sales function was very well equipped, and this is a question that's come through already, very well equipped to react to the times that we've had in terms of the structure that we have in terms of a function?
Yeah, absolutely, because this is actually the unique value we deliver as digital sales, using the digital tools, channels, make it more accessible to many people, also adopt the new technology really to improve people's life. I like the public sector cases because it is so real, so close to us. And also at the same time, when doing that, we together educate our customer, educate more people, with different backgrounds, with different skill sets to really adopt to the future digital solutions, technologies, and learning by using it. So it is a great joint experience we have with our customer, with our partners to build this world.
Fantastic. I really appreciate that context. I've got one more question for you, Lee. That's come through. The questions are flying through already from the audience. So we've had a question specifically for you, and it'd be great for you to explain a bit more on how the customers or the process of the customers coming to the digital sales teams comes about.
Sorry, Sungo, may I ask what is the clarification? What is the background of this question? Can you repeat that?
So it's more around how we engage with customers. How do we start to get an understanding of the customers, or build that engagement with the customers from a digital sales point of view?
Okay, got it. So we as digital sales, we work fully virtually. So which means we use Teams, our Teams channels to carry on all this conversation, and we do the demo. We use a whiteboard session also with the customer, and of course, with different stakeholders. For example, can be CIO office, can be the with the technical analyst. With the database that we use different tools for, I just mentioned some Teams and whiteboard sessions to build it up, and really, I think it's a great experience and also great tools, especially for the pandemic. And having said that, we go fully digital.
Excellent. And are those relationships born out of relationships with the wider organization, or are the team focused on going and building their own relationships primarily themselves with stakeholders or customers?
Yeah, I can speak for my team from Enterprise Digital Sales, and we collaborate with our field team as well, of course, also with different subsidiaries. And we as one Microsoft really focus on customer needs, and whatever that's for this customer, we go for it. I hope I answer
Excellent.
your question.
You did, and the theme of my questions were covered by some of the questions that are coming through from individuals. So thank you so much for both you and Justin setting the scene and giving me an overview of the, and hopefully the listeners an overview of the organization or the team and the structure, and I guess the focus and how we engage with our customers. Justin, I'd like to go back to you and just get a bit of an overview of yourself. Of course, you senior leader in the organization. I'm sure lots of individuals on the call have aspirations to get to a certain level in their career. So it'd be great to get an overview of your background and your Microsoft journey, and maybe how that experience or your experiences have helped develop the culture within your team and your business.
Yeah, sure. How long have you got? I have. I suppose I started my career at the very opposite end of the digital sales scale. I was a seller in the field. I was out in a car going visit customers face to face. And looking back now, it was such an inefficient way to reach many customers. And certainly, if a pandemic had happened back then, we would have just ground to a halt, and we would not have been able to meet our customers, help them, and digitally connect with them the way that Lee just described really well. So, I started in the manufacturing business, selling business to business. I moved over the years into more technology on the customer side. I was implementing customer systems, ERP systems, CRM systems, and very much on the customer side as a customer. And eventually I got the chance to join Microsoft in the operations center here in Dublin, which was a new learning for me. I was new to Microsoft. I had this fantastic branded company that I joined, learned so much in EMEA. But over time, I was able to move into different roles, different geographies, learn new and different things. And in my time in Microsoft, which is about 16 years now, I've worked in operations, I've worked in consulting services, I've worked in sales, both in Asia. I was based in Singapore for 4 or 5 years. I was in the US and Seattle for a few years doing a global role, and I came back to Dublin when they were setting up the digital sales center about 5 years ago, where we pretty much went and hired the team from scratch and built from a handful of people to what we are today, about 1,200. And of course, it's been a journey figuring out what is the right motion, what are the right tools to use, how do we train people, onboard so many people, how do we create the new culture, and how do we keep serving our customers through what have been very changing times, and making sure that we're doing the best and enabling them to be successful as well. So, from a career perspective, some go, it's just been an amazing journey. So many learnings, so many exposure to different cultures, different roles and organizations, and that really helps me in the role that I have today.
So through all those wonderful experiences that you've had, globally, you've obviously been given those opportunities with Microsoft. What would you say are the key cultural pieces of the culture that resonate in all of those locations across that you've worked in? There must be a consistency in the theme that keeps you here with the organization from a cultural perspective.
Yeah, it's great. And look, I think every location I've worked in and every organization's maybe slightly different. And obviously, the culture in Singapore when I was there is quite different to the culture in, Seattle when I was there. But I think common across all the teams that I've worked in is Microsoft's overriding values and culture is just very strong. And if I was to kind of use one thing, I would say growth mindset is something that's just huge in Microsoft. It's, a know-it-all culture. Culture is not what we aspire to. It's a learn-it-all culture. So, everything that we do every year is new. We're changing, we're learning, we're adapting to our customers. So we need people on the team that are open for learning, that maybe haven't done it before, but are going to figure it out. And we have this super collaborative approach in working together to solve any problem that we come across. So that for me is the single thing I've enjoyed most about my time in Microsoft, has been that constant journey of growing, learning, trying out new things, and ultimately, serving our customers on the way.
Thank you, Justin. That's super helpful, and I imagine that resonates with all four of us that are listening to that description. So Marielle, I'll come to you then, just building on what Justin's talked about from a cultural perspective. As a leader within the organisation, you're building teams. I imagine that's a big focus of your role. So how does Justin's description, of the culture feed into how you build your teams in the business?
Thank you so much, Shengo. And that's a great question. I love exactly what Justin said, because we have conversations with people from around the world coming from different backgrounds. And if we look at the team today, we have members who are coming from very traditional, those technical backgrounds, but we also have members that balance that out with non-traditional backgrounds. They might be super users, they might be coming from more of an end user perspective, maybe admin, something completely different. I myself even come from a psychology background. So there's no fit for all. And the balance on our teams are so crucial, because that's how we celebrate each other. That's how we learn from each other. So when Justin says that growth mindset, it's really that diversity of thought that helps us be better as a whole. And that's so important when we think about how we operate at Microsoft.
So you
And I'll hand back to
mentioned that.
you.
Sorry. So thank you. I'm just listening to what you were talking about there in terms of the different backgrounds and different cultures. All the different backgrounds and different cultures are centered in the one location. So that must mean that you must look for people with multiple languages. Is that you're looking for people with multiple languages, or do you hire individuals from all over the globe to bring over to the organization where you are?
Yeah, so we have people coming from all around the globe. I've been having conversations with people in, South America, Asia, across EMEA. We recently have a new joiner that's coming over from EMEA in one of the different countries that, first time in Ireland, they've never been here before. And we do a lot of work with them to help them transition, join the team, and onboard successfully as a whole.
So lots of different languages across the function. That, I guess, it must make much more of a fun environment than listening to the same thing. I love listening to different cultures and different environments, and creating that melting pot of people coming from different backgrounds. It certainly sounds great. In terms of the role, one thing obviously people may notice is that obviously Lee is a specialist manager and you are a tech specialist manager. Would you be able to just give a very quick overview of the difference between the terms? Because specialist and tech specialist don't necessarily mean the same things in different organizations. And this is for you, Marielle, again.
Of course. So our technical specialist team, they're the technical owners in the room. We work very closely, the sales specialist team that would be under Lee and the technical specialist team, to really craft together and collaborate a cohesive story for those customers. So don't think of them as operating in silos completely separate from each other. Think about them as working together to really develop a bigger picture for the customer. And it's that combination of the industry knowledge, that sales intensity that's coming from our specialist team, and that technical leadership is how we can actually have those impacts with our customers.
Excellent. So it's the combination of sales and pre-sales skill sets all coming together in one joint up of view in front of our customers. Awesome. So Lee, obviously with your sales focused team, what does a typical day for an individual contributor in your team look like?
Now, thank you, Zhong, for asking that. I probably would not go for a single day, because that's so different. Every day is so different. And having said that, I want to say that we are not selling. We really help educate, guide customer, teach them, and make our technology, accessible and deliver the impact, right, for the digital transformation for everyone. So if I look at a landscape of a week, let's put it a bit more realistic to look at that a week, schedule look like. Actually, three things I want to share with you is, of course, as a digital specialist, how does it look like? Can be one day you speak with a CIO, for example, a C-level, managerial level of an organization to inspiring them, have a session and talk about cloud strategy. How can we help through the journey on a blueprint high level, right? And then the next day you could speak with a really implementation team to talk about the architecture. How does it look like? What kind of, readiness for technical point, but also from business point, how we support with our implementation with partner. That is more or less for the role-based sort of rhythm we have. But having said that, I really want to emphasize one of the fascinating part being digital sales at Microsoft Ireland, also the whole organization, I want to mention that, is the impact part for personal development. That is one of the main elements also for personal impact to support other success. So just take my team, for example. Everyone has their own impact project where they can dedicate, align with their passion. Just imagine if you are asked to do something you're not passionate about, that's not ideal, right? That's not the right way. Everyone has their own passion and drive from their, which area they want to delegate their free time to deliver impact. Just give some examples. Some team member joined, for example, the hackathon, leads those hack events. Some would like to dedicate themselves for the ERG community, the employee resource group community, built on diversity and inclusion. Some also dedicate themselves with the customer for the learning paths, doing something extra miles for the readiness from broader communities or society. So it is a fantastic sort of environment we are building for the impact driven from personal passion and growth. I want to mention something very regular in our daily life as every week we have the dedicated learning hours for everyone. That is within our rhythm. And also monthly, we have the Learn Day globally for everyone to really keep up the learning mindset, and learn the technology. Because just imagine how fascinating the technology evolves. In order to educate and also, deliver real value to our customer, we also need to learn. So, like Justin and Marielle emphasized several times already, the growth mindset is super, super important, and we actually integrated. It is in our DNA. So that's more or less as digital specialists, more or less on a high level. How does a week look like instead of a day?
Thank you. Yeah, and I can see why you had to spread it out to a week rather than a day, because there is so much more to the role than even I realised that you're doing. It sounds like obviously it's not just delivery, it's not just driving the number, which is of course important. It's personal growth and learning and working with others and contributing to the success of others and your customers outside of the day to day. So that's super exciting. Marielle, there will be managers and leaders, people from the leadership community listening into this as well. So it'd be great to get some insight from you on what a typical day or maybe a week like Lee did for a leader within your role.
Perfect. Well, I mean, not to repeat a lot of what Lee has already said, every day is a bit different. And I think Justin had mentioned about the career development that he experienced personally at Microsoft. And I think that's a great representation, even of something that I've gone through myself. As a leader at Microsoft, it's not just so much as, okay, bring on some people, do the day-to-day. This is about, career development. This is about enabling people to be passionate. This is about people having that greater purpose than just coming and doing a job. Lee highlighted perfectly about, we want people to be doing those things that are personal and important to them. And as a leader at Microsoft, your job and your success is the success of your people. So that's where you get to really shine and help them realize their goals and work through their passions. And what that could look like on a week-to-week basis might be one-to-ones directly with your direct reports, to have those conversations about career development, what's important to them, where do they want to go to be their own individual leader. That could also be through other forums where you're getting them opportunities to get involved. So we recently in our team have developed a technical specialist sharing call where team members can actually, be that leader, come in, present their ideas, share, learn from each other, and gain those best practices. And another example of this would be if you're particularly passionate about a type of product. Virtual reality is a very popular one with some of the members in the team. Having the leadership team enable you to take on that as a tool. So those are the basics. I would say as a leader, it always comes back to my team. My day-to-day is working with amazing people, and it's super exciting.
Thank you so much for that. Hopefully that gives the leadership community or aspiring leaders on the call and an overview of the broader nature of the role as an individual contributor and a leader in the business. And personally, I think listening to some of the points you talked about, your priority being people, I think certainly would hopefully is inspiring individuals to see how close you are with your team and how much support you get from the leadership community. What I want to ask, one follow-up question, Marielle, is what's your favorite part of your job? Because you mentioned quite a few things there in terms of the scope that you cover, which is great. But what is your favorite part of your job?
That's a tough one. If I'm gonna be specific, it's the people. It's very close to what I just said. The people are very close to my heart. It's the reason why I joined Microsoft in the first place. I had another offer with another company and I was very excited about it. And then Microsoft contacted me and I was like, I'll give it a shot. And the people are what really, really drove it home for me. And even more now, just seeing the passion from the people around me is what gets me excited every single day.
Thank you. Justin, would you echo that sentiment, or is there something slightly different that's your favorite?
No, 100%. I would probably add maybe two things. I never have one favorite. I think people is just amazing, and harking back to some of the earlier conversations. I know in Dublin right now we have something like 75 nationalities. We have 35 languages being supported. We have people from all walks of life that have joined us from technology or through the sales academy where they've come from all sorts of different backgrounds. So one is just the variety, the people, the passion that you get every day with everyone you work with. And I suppose the other thing for me personally is I love the change, the challenge of driving a new business model, of expanding into new products, new markets over time, improving as we go along. So that variety that every year brings for me is really key as well, motivationally.
And I love obviously the theme of the topic and obviously of the discussion that I'm getting from you all is variety, is different, variety of people, variety of backgrounds, diversity seems to be coming up as a bit of a theme as well. So I was keen just to build on that, but with you, Justin, as well, because I think ultimately, as an organisation, I think if anybody follows our organisation, we talk very loudly and proud about how diversity and inclusion, and it's important to include inclusion. Is a topic that underpins everything that we do. So. How are you, in terms of your business, are you bringing those commitments to life?
Yeah, that's a great question. And look, Microsoft's got a really strong diversity and inclusion environment. And I think in digital sales in Dublin, we've just got this amazing opportunity to have, the most diverse team I've ever worked with globally. And if you think about it from a business perspective, we want to hire people that represent our customer base, and our customer base is every organization across the planet. So, in every country. So we want to hire people that can relate to our customers, that understand their cultures and their backgrounds and where they're coming from. So, that means we got to hire very diversely. And, I don't mean just the traditional gender diversity, which we're very strong on in my team. We've got almost 50-50 mix of male female, but it's much broader than that. It's diversity of thinking, it's diversity of experiences, diversity of industries. So even if you've never worked in technology, but you've worked in an industry, that's of interest to Microsoft, because we're bringing expertise in manufacturing or retail or education or wherever it is you've happened to work, and you bring that knowledge into the company that we can then use to figure out how to serve our customers even better going forward. So that diversity of thought and background is just as important as the traditional dimensions of diversity and inclusion. Of course, I suppose Sungo is the other thing. It's great to bring in diversity, but then we need to, we're very strong on this, make sure everybody's voice is heard, that you bring yourself to work every day. You don't need to try to be something different or try to be a Microsoft type person. It's actually all about making that diversity that we brought in be included and be part of the everyday fabric of what we do in Microsoft.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a really great overview from a diversity point of view. And as a recruiter by trade and part of our talent acquisition team, a lot of direction that we go in terms of us trying to, we're the face of the organization initially, is driven by the conversations that we have with you. I love the point that you made about diversity of thought, because I think people always tend to put diversity and inclusion into a couple of buckets depending on what the pertinent topic is in society, what's the more prevalent topic that's in society. And of late they have been ethnicity, or they have been gender, sexuality, depends on what it is. And I think ultimately diversity of thought in society is made up of much more strands of that. So that's why your point on inclusivity and coming as you are and doing what you love is a big part of the type of organization that we are. So really appreciate that overview from a D&I perspective. The time is, we're motoring through. I wanted to, before we get towards the Q&A, we've got about 10 minutes before the Q&A portion, and we've got some questions that I wanted to ask. I think we'd be remiss if we didn't recognize the fact that the world has been through a slightly different cadence the last couple of years. Unless you've been under a rock, things have slightly changed in terms of how we are managing our day-to-day lives, and people unfortunately have been impacted in some ways worse than others. So we'll always be grateful for the support that we have from first responders and from emergency services, and the healthcare that is in various parts of the Microsoft globe. But through that change and through that differences that we're feeling, our customers must be feeling differences and change, and having to adapt and how they've progressed forward. So what sort of challenges, and this is a question for you, Lee, what sort of challenges does that present in terms of our customers adapting? Because I imagine we've had to adapt our approach as well. And what sort of challenges or opportunities does that present for yourself and your team?
Yeah, absolutely, Sungo. Like you just mentioned, there are many big changes, and also come to a challenge point from customers. When we have this customer conversation, quite often we see these three main subjects. Number one is about the hybrid workplace. How we as Microsoft can also support our own employees, but also for a customer to really adapt to this new situation. A hybrid workplace where we can provide a safe environment for our employees' well-being and healthy environment, but also to support for business growth. So the second thing is also about the business part, where our customer would consider and struggle a bit with the goals usually they have. So that's also come into all this digital enablement, where we could support our customer and also ourselves as an organization, how we adapt to the new situation. Now, I want to share with you something, for example, like the readiness for technical skills. At Microsoft, we, of course, also educate our customer as learning mindset is really, really important. And we have MS Learned, and also, for example, for customer, the skilling program for each organization to, to provide this accessibility for learning, and also the resources on cloud, for example, providing all these certificates and the training. The third subject I want to touch upon, really, really important, is the sustainability. Now, it comes into a very strategic and critical sort of like subject for business development. It is a planet-sized challenge. It is not only, it is something integrated into business. How we enable our customer also using the digital technologies to improve and contribute from sustainable side, how we can track, measure our carbon emission, and how we achieve the business goal, also integrate truly the sustainability into our DNA. So those three main directions are quite often touch base, and we encourage also our customers to experience that, as well as an organization. We've been through also this practice during this pandemic period as well.
And sustainability, thank you, Lee. Sustainability is a really pertinent topic the last month or so, and you can see, the conversation around it is increasing, and gladly so. So I'm really pleased to see that's part of your team's thinking and your team's approach in supporting our customers. So I just wanted to change speed slightly and bring it back to the listeners, and help build a picture of what joining the business is like. We've had a question come in from somebody in France. So hello, or bonjour, I should say. What is the question is, what is the typical onboarding process for a sales specialist with maybe 5 years with experience? And so this is a question for you, Marielle. Is the experience for people with lots of experience, with people with no experience, in terms from an onboarding perspective, and what does that look like in the organization?
I love that question, and I'm thinking very, very recently to some new joiners that we had just yesterday. Some from, a couple years out of college that have, lots of experience, versus those who have 10, 20 plus years experience. Everybody's coming from a different background. Some people have that familiarity, they're already aware of the tech, and we've highlighted a lot today that we try to balance our teams. So sometimes people are coming from non-traditional backgrounds, and how we learn together is really that onboarding process and having that tailored to you. So when you're joining a big company, it could be very overwhelming. It could be very intimidating, even before we considered the pandemic. And that's especially true when we have people relocating from across the world. But with the Microsoft Ireland community, we have a lot of resources that are available to help, those transitions just from a general perspective. The recruitment and relocation teams do a phenomenal job in providing support and guidance about all the things Microsoft in Ireland. I've heard there's even tours for Dublin as well. But when you think about, the rest of the Microsoft community and that onboarding process, you're gaining that massive network of support with your direct and indirect teams. So on your first day, you're going to have a buddy that's going to help you learn the ropes, see the boots on the ground perspective. You'll have, all of your assets, you'll have all the tools you need to be successful. And then your manager will work with you on that onboarding plan. So yes, there's structure to, cover the role, the new employee onboarding, to cover, the Microsoft way. But then there's boot camps that you can learn those technical skills and adjust as needed. So it's a very tailored approach. It's very personal to you. And some people go through that process a bit faster, some people don't. And that's where that conversation with your manager is so important, because they want to make sure that you're successful and have all the tools there. But at the end of the day, you know when you're going to be ready for that. And we work with you to make sure that you're comfortable and have all of those little tools to get you there. So you're
And
never
with
alone at Microsoft.
excellent. Sorry to interrupt. I was just going to ask them: is that experience mirrored all over the Microsoft globe, regardless of the location and the role?
Yes. So the new employee onboarding thing is something that, will happen in every location. Ours is specific to Microsoft Ireland, where you can have a community of people that are coming from all different disciplines within the Microsoft Ireland team. But then there's virtual instructor-led courses that are led by global experts. And that's where you get to meet peers that are part of your wider global cohort. So it's a very similar process for them, but it's an opportunity for you to develop that community as part of your unique specialty. So there's a lot of variety in how we approach our onboarding, but it's standardized by the typical steps that you would expect for your role introduction and your role speciality.
Thank you. I really like the point around community. We'll talk about community and staying connected together in a moment. But yeah, I think it's certainly important that opportunity to connect with other people through the onboarding globally, I think is certainly important, especially right now when we're all, you staring into laptop screens or screens of the various locations at the moment. So before we come back to the connectivity piece, Justin, I just wanted to talk to you about career development. So now we've been through the onboarding experience, we've come through that journey that Marielle has talked about. What does career development look like from then on? Is it something that the individuals have to initiate, or is it something that the business are initiating straight away?
Yeah, it's a great question. I suppose everybody is going to be on a different journey, and Marielle talked about it a little bit earlier, as the role of the manager and how the manager will help you figure out your career steps. But we do look at it two ways. One is there's well-trodden paths in Microsoft over time of, if you're in one role today and you're interested in moving to another role, there's steps that people have taken many times into new roles, and so that's one way to go, is follow the traditional route, if you want to call it that. There's no prescribed route, and the other is, people, as they come into a company and come into a role, they learn a lot, they develop interests, and they realize, from networking and talking to other people in the company, what their passion is and maybe what they would like to do going forward. And that's really where those what we call personal development and career development discussions with your manager are so important, because the manager will help figure out, well, if you want to be in this role in 2 years' time, what are the building blocks that you need, what are the experiences that we can help you get in the meantime, and build out a career development plan with you, maybe introduce you to someone in another part of the organization that could be a mentor. Make sure to expose you to experiences and learnings that will either help you figure out, is this something I'm really interested in and want to pursue, or at least give me experiences that will help me demonstrate how I would get on in this space. So it's a very personal journey, Sungo, I think, is how I would look at it, but there's a lot of structures around it, from a management perspective, from a training, coaching, career sites, and all sorts of mentoring type programs that we have as well. So it's very supported but very individual.
Thank you, and I think it hopefully will certainly gives me comfort, but hopefully gives the listeners comfort that it's sometimes a difficult conversation to have with your leader around where you want to go. Some managers, the instinct is to keep great people in your team, but it sounds
that's a good point. Yeah, that's a great point. And look, we kind of view that, to keep talent in the organization, to grow in Microsoft, people are going to move. They're going to work across the company in different roles, and that benefits everyone. even, we collaborate a lot with other teams collaborate with us, and if people in that team have worked in our organization in the past, then it all helps for understanding, for better collaboration and better development. So generally in Microsoft, we very much encourage people to follow their path and develop and move roles over time if that's what they want to do. And of course, if you want to go deep specialist in an area that you really enjoy, you can also develop your career within a specific role, within a specific area as well, and go deeper, become more specialist, and actually gain promotions in that space too. So there's many different paths people can take.
Thank you. Another theme occurring through the conversation, Lee mentioned it as well, doing what you love and doing what you're passionate about, rather than asking people or forcing people to do things that they're not passionate about. And it's great to see that's mirrored in the career development discussion. So 10 minutes to go. I want to fit in some. We had some questions come through, but just before we finish, I've seen a couple of questions around staying connected and how obviously at the moment as an organization, we're all in different locations. So I've got a couple of questions. First one for you, Marielle, just on how are you and your organization or your team staying connected at the moment, in times where people are more apart than ever.
And I would say that the pandemic has had us be a bit creative, right? We've had to think about different ways we can get connected as a team, as a community. And what that looks like at Microsoft today is everything, virtual fitness classes, scavenger hunts, fundraisers, escape rooms, art competitions, all the way through to, we recently did our annual charity fundraiser for the Laura Lynn Children, where Microsoft Ireland employees joined teams together, and they cycled to raise almost over, I think it was 60,000 combined kilometers, dollars or euros together. So this is one of those examples of how you can get to know people from across the organization community. And if cycling is not your thing, for the holidays, we have a ton of events going on, from speakers coming to speak about how they share the holidays from around the world, from their different cultures. We have a reading challenge, and I think my kitchen's definitely going to be the messiest by far. Our team is doing a virtual lunch and some games there, and we're also working on a curated seasonal cookbook for us to share traditional and non-traditional holiday recipes, because people from so many different cultures in our team. So there really are a lot of activities for everybody, for you to have that direct connection with your team, to meet people outside of your team as well. And I could go on for probably an hour with different examples. I hope that answers your question, Sungo.
It's lunchtime here, so the virtual lunch sounds amazing, especially with all the different languages and different backgrounds. I think you could have a really fun the virtual cookout there with all the different foods, etc. So I just want to thank you so much for that question, for answering that question. I did Right. So yeah, Marielle, apologies after the slight technical challenges there. I wanted to ask you a question just around how we're staying connected at the moment. The question was really centered around the fact that we're all so far apart at the moment, and apart more than ever. It'd be great to get an understanding of how your team and the wider organization is staying connected.
And COVID has had us get pretty creative with this right now. I have to say, there's different ways that we can connect as a team in a wider community, and what that looks like at Microsoft today. We have everything from, those virtual fitness classes, scavenger hunts, quizzes, escape rooms, art competitions, to even seasonal and cultural events. Very recently, we actually had our annual charity cycle fundraiser event for the Laura Lynn Children's Hospital. And Microsoft employees joined in teams together and cycled over, I think it was 60,000 combined kilometers, and raising upwards of $68,000 for the foundation. So this is a fantastic opportunity to get to know different teams, but also have an impact in your direct community. And if cycling's not the thing for you, well, that's completely fine, because when we think about what's going on over the holidays, a couple of those events are, we have a multicultural holiday event with speakers from around the world sharing how they celebrate the holidays. There's a cookie gingerbread decorating challenge, I believe, and my kitchen would definitely be the messiest by far. Our team themselves are doing a virtual lunch and some games together with a bit of a secret Santa. And we're also working on a seasonal cookbook where we can share some traditional and non-traditional holiday recipes to celebrate everybody's different background. So there's a ton of activities. I could really go on for a long time, Sango, but I'll hand back to you. And I hope that answers the question.
Thank you. Yeah, it does. It does. And particularly, if you know me, like you guys know me, then you'll know that I'm very, very excited about the cookbook. That sounds amazing. All the different backgrounds and different languages and cookbooks. I'll definitely be tapping into that. Keen to ask some of the questions from the group, but I wanted to thank you all so much for your answers there on the main portion of the conversation. Just building on Marielle, on what you said, and maybe actually this is a question for Justin, just around the office space in Dublin. Marielle's really articulated how we're staying connected when we're apart at the moment, and all the different ways of which we are staying close together. But one of the big exciting points about Dublin, in fact, is the office space. So one of the questions has come around and said, what do you see as the role of this office, the Dublin office, going forward, and the office in general? Will it change? And how, if that's the case, how do you think that's going to be?
Yeah, it's great, and we have the most amazing office in Dublin, which is state of the art, and it's been reconfigured to support collaboration and people meeting to collaborate together, as well as being able to work in person, at desks and have all of that what we normally traditionally expect at an office. Microsoft Ireland and Microsoft in general have made a decision over the pandemic that we will go to hybrid working when we're past the pandemic and able to go back. We've learned so much about working remotely and the benefits that flexibility brings. So we want to maintain what's good about that, but we also want to make sure that we have the ability to bring teams together, to make those connections in person, to run brainstorming sessions, team meetings, get creative, and generally have those in-person connections that are so important over time as well. So the office, in Dublin, is just set up to enable that in such a great way. We've got a fantastic facilities like canteen, really amazing food. We've got gym. We've got a location where you can go out for walks outside the office in a quite nice environment, and you've got obviously the state-of-the-art technology when it comes to collaboration, meeting rooms, and all of that. So I think it's going to be very blended in the future. Sungo would be my answer, and the office, it would be set up to enable that in the best way possible, and to make collaborating with people in person and people who may be remote possible through our technology, and of course our customers as well.
Thank you, Justin. And building on the theme of locations, Marielle or Lee, whoever wants to answer the question, we've had a question come through around obviously, given the challenges at the moment, moving and relocating isn't necessarily at the forefront of everybody's mind. So the question is, would you recommend moving to Ireland if someone was looking for a career in Microsoft, and why?
I think Lee and I are both, we both have relocated to Ireland, so we're both in the same shoes, but Lee, you go ahead.
Happy. I'm actually the person who is coming to Microsoft Dublin. I'm in the process of relocating. I really, really love my journey, and I'm very, very happy I made that decision during the pandemic. I joined Microsoft last year. So really during the pandemic started really virtually, and I'm now in our Dublin office because I'm relocating, and it's super great experience. So I'm just speaking for myself. I don't know how deep we could go based on the time, and I hand it over to Marielle to share your experience.
Sure. And thanks, Lee. I guess the only bits and pieces I have to add is, the team's here to help you. We have people relocating from all over. So, it might be having a little bit of extra support with tips and tricks around Dublin. It might be extra support for how to do that. But we're always making sure that you're comfortable along the way. So there's a lot of support there. I appreciate we are at time, so that I'm happy to add more to that in another conversation.
Thank you. We really appreciate it. And apologies if we haven't got to your question. I know that I can see there's some questions around sales academies. There's questions around training, and some really good questions that we could go on for another hour in terms of the topic. So what we will say is that we'll collate all of the questions, and between Justin, Lee, and Marielle, we'll aim to get back to you with answers, and for everybody to see all of the answers on those questions. Thank you so much for your time. Really, really appreciate listening to your answers, and it's been a great conversation. The beauty of this, obviously, people may assume that I've heard all these answers hundreds of times before, but we make it so the way we structure it that I'm hearing a lot of the answers for the first time. So I even have some more questions as well myself to learn more about your business. So hopefully that will be mirrored by the listeners. Thank you all so much for taking part in this live digital event. It's really, really great having you. There will be more, so watch this space for the next ones. And yeah, please enjoy the rest of your day, rest of the afternoon, rest of your evening, and we'll speak to you soon.